good
right.
idea, but we don't know who LP is.
Okay, so I'll read the names that I see. Of course,
That would
number
be
one is Ann Peskin and Nancy Kittay, Merrill, Rosalie Fisher, Gail Trell, Jake Meyer, Rhonda Ginsburg, hello, Rhonda, Beverly Stein, Sharon and Jeff Turchin, and Roz Mango, and Nancy. Nancy, I don't think I know your last name.
DeVries, if I'm right.
So I've got let's see, 4, 8, 12. I see 12 on my screen.
There's more. There's another page, Peter.
And in answer to the Nancy, that's Nancy DeVries, a sailing friend of Ann's.
That's what I thought it was. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Ann.
I just got to get to the next page to see everybody.
I count 23.
Right. And Peter, I can do it. I have more names on there. Jessica, but I don't know your last name. Jessica. Oh, she disappeared. Ann Khan, LP. Do you know who LP is?
You can't get to the next page. There's no arrow.
LP, Karen and Dave.
LP is me, Lee.
Lee. Okay. Lee. Of course it's Lee. Nancy Rosette, Alexandra. This is family. Mark Bender, Gloria Simon, Lisa Sawville, who is also family. Fern, Ethan Sawville, family. Sharon B, not sure who, is it Sharon Bear? And Jessica's iPhone.
Oh,
I don't know who,
Yes, it's Sharon Bear.
haha, I guessed it.
well,
Because you're the only one I know who spells Sharon with the Y.
Gail, thank you very much.
And there's more people. Sandy Golub just signed on.
There's Sharon Bear.
Me too. Okay.
There she is.
What's the total, Gail, that are on?
There's 26.
There's another page. Wait a second, just came on, so that means more people. Dave Emmerling signed on. We have 26 people.
Very nice. And Ann,
Yes,
I think we're ready now. And
whenever you're ready.
we're ready now. And thank you very much, Ann, for coming aboard. And every time Ann has a book that she wants to present, it's always terrific. So, Ann, you take care.
I think we lost her.
No, you didn't. I didn't hear the end of Peter's statement.
All I was saying, Ann, is that we're very gifted to have you. And why don't you start? Can you hear me now?
Thank you very much, Peter. Let me say good evening to all my friends. I think you know that I am somebody that talks about pirates and gangsters. And a friend of mine read a review of this book, and she said, "This is for you." And she was absolutely right. The book, The Remarkable Mrs. Mandelbaum by Marguerite Fox, is a nonfiction book about a most exceptional criminal. And let me start out with giving you a little bit about the author. The author was born in 1961. She is a cellist. She had her degree in linguistics, went into journalism, and she works for the New York Times, and she's at the obituary department, which is very, that's what I thought. And she has written a number of books, all nonfiction. One of the ones that caught my eye was somebody who had invented the Frisbee.
Oh,
So she has interesting ideas and thoughts. But now let's go back to the remarkable Mrs. Mandelbaum. There are a few things that I want to share before we start. There's thievery, robbery, and burglary. They're different. in so much as who they reach. A thief steals from someone. A robber steals from a store or a different, a larger object. Let's say he robs a bank or he robs a house. And then there's a burglar, like a robber, except he actually breaks in. All of them are have the term larceny attached to them. That's the first one. The other thing you should know is what a fence is. Since they have stolen goods, the fence is the middleman. He buys the stolen goods and then he sells them for a profit. One other thing that's important is that we're going to talk money. $50 in 1850 is equivalent to $2,700 today. It would buy the same amount. For example, you could, at $50, you could buy 2 horses or 4 cattle. I don't know what you could buy it for $2,700. The last thing that I want to bring up is that New York City that we're going to talk about is not what we think of it. It is just Manhattan. Actually, in 1894, the 4 boroughs combined, so it's a distance away. Now let's get down to Fredericka. Let me remind you before I start that this is nonfiction. Everything that I'm telling you is true, and Fox documented it. We start out in 1825. A little girl, Fredericka, is born in a small town in Germany. She gets a bit of education, just the minimal. I'm going to jump because that's all we know about her. In 1848, she marries Wolf Mandelbaum, a peddler. Notice she's 23. It's a little old for getting married, but I am going to tell you that she's 6 feet tall. I think it may have stopped somebody. Well, Wolf is a peddler, and he finds that there are too many restrictions to Jews in the town, and he feels he wants more. So he goes to America, where the streets supposedly are paved in gold. A couple of years later, Fredericka, with her baby, follows. There's an interesting description for me of her on the boat. She's in, steerage, I'm sorry. She's in steerage, and the place that's there is very rough, and the seas are rough. I like that part, as you would kind of imagine with my interest in boating. She arrives in New York City, and now New York City is divided in population to the wealthy. The Astors, the Vanderbilts are in one part. There is a group called the bourgeois, or middle class, that has developed since the Civil War. And these are the merchants that have done very well. And then there's the poorer people, and they're at the tip end of Manhattan. Now, Wolf and Fredericka move into the area called the Kleine Deutschland, which is about a mile square. You'll know some names of the streets: Fulton Street, Rivington Street, and several others. Clinton. So they're in tenements. Unfortunately, Wolf did not find a good job, and he's a peddler. He has a push cart. Fredericka helps him a little bit. And then she wants to move up in class, and she wants to get some kind of a job. Now, the job for women is limited in 1850. It's a laundress, a servant, a prostitute, a scavenger who picks up from the streets and sells what they pick up, or a pickpocket. None of those appeal to her. Somewhere in the 1850s, she is picked up by General Abe Greenthal, a fence. She's his protege. And what's very interesting is that at that time, she realizes, and they realize, that she has a talent, the ability to look at stolen material and have an actual value for it, which becomes very important. She's there for a while and then decides she's going to leave. She can do as well as she has in mind, except she's going to do it differently. She calls her pickpocket friends and she decides what is something that you can steal that is very valuable, small, easy to handle, and she thinks, and that is diamonds. So now she teaches her pickpockets how to pick up diamonds. Where are they? The bourgeoisie want to show off their wealth, and they're wearing diamond stick pins and diamond lapels, as well as they have bought snuff boxes and watches that have been engraved. So the group that she has picked up learn to steal them. She pays them 25% of the value of the material and then sells it for over 50% of it. So she makes a very good profit. Now, what happens next is that she opens a haberdashery store. And a haberdashery store is like a dry goods store where they sell dresses, anything. How could I describe it? All kinds of sewing material, men's clothing. When I looked it up, I was surprised by what it was. She opens the shop, and this is at Clinton and Rivington Street, and she moves her family up into the second floor. Now, this is the time when they want to entice the bourgeoisie to spend money. And something comes about that's interesting. From the dry goods store, all of a sudden, there are pleasure palaces that are built. Now, these are big stores, lighted with counters, and the merchandise is all on the counters, encouraging people to buy. You and I know them as department stores. And it was 1853 that Macy's started, then came Lord and Taylor's, then came Wanamaker's and Altman's. And for those that remember, it's the 1862 Bloomingdale's. So they now have stores that are quite attractive, not only to the bourgeoisie, but to the shoplifters. Now what they tell us now, which is interesting, is how she dresses her shoplifters besides teaching them. They wear 2 canvas straps underneath their corsets, which are attached to a bag, which is between their feet. And there is a slit in their skirt that directly goes to the bag. So they're set. They go into a store and choose a particular counter. And one of the counters that she advises them to go to is the counter that shows cashmere sweaters, shawls. Now, women did not wear coats in those days, they wore shawls. And cashmere was warm and beautiful. It came from India and was very expensive. So they now went into the store and they talked to the clerk and was looking at 1 or 2, and then they would take her attention to something behind her, which made her turn around. And there went the cashmere into the pocket and down into the bag. Well, they not only did 1 or 2 of those, they went on to another counter and another counter. And when the bag was filled, they came back to Mom Mandelbaum. They called the mom almost like a mother because they were attached that way. And she would value the materials and give them 25% of the value in cash. And so the rest, remember she had a store, so she had a place where she could put it. So that part was good. Her enterprise was working. Diamonds that she was getting was small. Wouldn't it be better to get a bigger diamond? But you can't get it from the streets. You have to get it from a jewelry store. Well, what is the plan? She gets herself all dressed up in silks and wears a hat with the feathers and goes down to 550 Broadway, where in 1837, Tiffany opened its first store. And she goes in there and she looks around 1 day, 2 days, maybe 3 or 4. She's really not window shopping. She's casing the joint. And she comes back to her place and she picks 2 people, Swell Robinson and Mary. Why was he called Swell Robinson? Because he dressed and looked like a gentleman and acted like one. On the appointed day, he goes into Tiffany's chewing gum. And, oh, by the way, gum was just introduced for the first time at about that time. And he sits down at a counter and asks to look at 2 or 3 big diamonds. And he looks, and then he says, I really have to think about it. I'll be back later. As he's about to leave, the clerk realizes that a diamond is missing. And they say, we'll have to search you. They search him, find nothing, so he leaves. A little later, Mary comes into the store. And Mary sits at the same counter and asks to look at some smaller diamonds. And she looks and says, I still have to think about it. I'll come back tomorrow. And she leaves. Nothing is missing. she arrives at Mrs. Mandelbaum's with the big diamond. Now, what happened? The next day, the clerk is cleaning, and under the counter, he finds a wad of chewing gum. And also within that, a place where you can see that the diamond had been placed. Other jewelry stores were warned about that trick, but at the same time, Mom's thieves, now they're robbers, right? Because they're getting it from the store, do approach other jewelry stores. And there's a couple of other ways of taking out jewelry, but if you read it, you'll enjoy what it looks like. Well, so far so good. Well, she's thinking again and comes up with another idea. The women make their own dresses or have dressmakers make their dresses. They need fabric, and the fabric that's expensive and beautiful is silk. And getting a yard or two of silk is not worth it, but they come in bolts. They're brought over from India, and remember, New York is a port, so they come right to the port. For those of you, I don't know how many know what a bolt of fabric is like, but it's a piece of wood in this case with the fabric rolled around it, and many, many yards. The girls, or her chicks as they're called, can't handle big stuff like that. She has to extend her employees, men. So now she picks up some of the very best thieves to come into her group. If you want to know all their names, they're written in the pages and what their talent is. Now that she has the thieves, they go to the docks and to the warehouses and bring in the bolts of silk. She pays, I think, 16 cents, which was, and by a yard, and sells it somewhere like $3-4. So again, she makes a profit, quite a big profit. So far, so good. She has quite an organization at this point. She has employees. She's got product. I guess she should be satisfied. No. She now looks at the houses of the can't say it today, bourgeoisie, and decides which ones she wants to burglarize. Notice they're going in, and she chooses which of her thieves go there. Well, she's gone from pickpockets all the way up to burglars. There's only one more stop to go, and that's bank robbers. She's not too thrilled about that thought. She thinks, and she has them talking about it, and then she decides she'll risk one. But now I have to tell you a little bit about why bank robbery became something of the 60s and 70s in 1860, 1870. Lincoln needed money to run the Civil War. He needed it for the army, he needed it for all the equipment. And his Treasury Secretary, Chase, convinced him to have the Congress pass a law which would allow them to print paper money. They printed about $5 million worth. They were called greenbacks because the ink on the back was the green. Now, there were private banks up to this point, and Chase again recommended to Lincoln that he open national banks so that they could get the money spread around. There were many national banks opened. There was one right on the street where where Mrs. Mandelbaum lived on Clinton Street. Now, what I have to mention is that the private banks had gold bars and silver bars. That was the guarantee for the money or whatever they were doing. Why weren't they burglarized? Now, let me tell you, if you take an 8x10 sheet of paper, divide it into 3 parts, you get an 8x3. Take the top knuckle of your thumb and lean it against the paper. That's about 1 inch. So a gold bar is 7 by 3 by 1 in size, but it weighs 27.5 pounds. So it's not kind of thing you want to do as a bank robber. 4 of them would be over 100 pounds. Now, but money, paper money, is not heavy. Many of us have seen satchels of $1 million when they have kidnapping ransom. And that makes it possible, according to her ethics, of having something small and valuable. So what does she do? She chooses 2 lead burglars. George White, remember his name, and Mike Shinberg. These are the lead, and then they have a team of maybe, I think it was over a half a dozen that will be part of the group that will do the burglarizing. I'm not going to give you the whole story of the burglary, but I'll give you just the beginning. What you need is, first of all, patience. Everything takes time. You need to have chosen the bank. Once you've chosen it, you need to have a place to watch the area and what happens around it for a while, so that you know what goes on, who goes past it, the watchmen, the people. And then you need to have somebody that's in the bank, an insider, not only to know the layout, but you also have to know the combination to the opening of the big vault. So you have to cultivate somebody inside. Well, Mom decides that she will be the angel who will invest and give them the money for all the things that they need. So for the rent for the apartment, for taking the insider out and feeding him and giving him drinks and getting him to be a good friend. And they were lucky. The fellow that they chose had a gambling problem. Then they have to be able to tunnel under the street, actually, into the building on the other side. But they need well, are they go in through the ceiling or are they going in through the floor? And they decide the ceiling. So they actually rent a store right under the bank. And they call in Schinberg's brother-in-law to open up an insurance agency. They do start cutting the ceiling. Something happens. They also can't get they can't get the combination because the inside man can't see the one who's trying to open it. So they go, actually Schinberg goes up to Rochester where he buys a comparable safe with the same combination, not the same combination, but the same lock. And they take him and they spend days getting him to realize how far you go to the right and then how far you're going to go to the left. And then they go to the right again. It's a three number combination. Well, they do go through the ceiling. There's trouble, but I won't give you that information. They get into the president's office and they have to stay in the dark. They can't put on a light. So they use the tip end of a cigar to get them to the vault and to open it. And once they're inside, they can put on a light. But I'm not going to tell you what happened because it takes a whole chapter to tell this whole story in the book. But I will tell you that the New York Times had a headline, $800,000 stolen in cash and negotiable bonds, no jewelry. They had used $2,000 worth of tools to accomplish it, and they can't get the thieves. Where does the money go? To Mrs. Mandelbaum. She gets her cut, but at the same time, she has to launder all this money, which brings her into real estate, where she flips the houses. I think so far, she's reached the top. Everything is amazing. There's a long story that goes with the bank. I was quite interested in how it was done, and I'm sure when you read it, you will be too. Well, I've given you an idea of where she's gone and how big her organization is at this point, but I want to tell you a little bit how she keeps the organization together. She has to keep her employees loyal because if they sing or tell on her that she's taking stolen goods, she's in trouble because then she will be arrested. So she has to make sure that they're loyal and happy. She puts on picnics and dances for them. Then, in addition to that, if one of them is arrested, she pays their bail. If they come to trial, she has her lawyers who are under retainer find the right witness that will exonerate them. And if they end up in jail, she takes care of their families. She has them run free and make sure that they stay well and healthy. I think under those circumstances, people are going to be loyal. The other side of the coin is that she has to be friendly with people in the upper class in society. And what is important is that Tammany is in charge of Manhattan at this point. And there's corruption throughout the system. She needs some of these people. And now what she does is in her apartment, which is furnished well with mahogany, a crystal chandelier, silk curtains, she has dinner parties, invitational dinner parties. And on the one side of her table are judges, aldermen, ward leaders, because they're in wards, and the chief of police, which is in her pocket. On the other side of the table are her chosen thieves of the day, and she sits at the head, all 6 feet of her, with diamonds and silks. One reporter wrote in the papers that she had as much as $30,000 worth of diamonds that she was wearing at the time. So she has her people upstairs, and she knows whose palm she has to pass with money as often as she has to. She's very generous as far as it goes. Now, she still needs some place, somewhere, where she can keep and work. She needs an office. She has a store, and she has built a wall at the back of the store with a very heavy oak door that can only be opened on the inside. And on that side of it is, it was equivalent to an apartment. She has a bedroom or a dormitory for thieves that come from out of town, a conference room, a workroom where her jewelers work, a shipping department, and a parlor. She sits in the parlor and has windows where she can look out and find out what's happening. There are secret doors where her people who are thieves can come in. And there's a chimney in the parlor. Now, the chimney in the parlor is fitted with a dumbwaiter. I don't know how many of you have ever seen a dumbwaiter, but basically it is a flat, like an elevator, but it's for merchandise. And what you do is have it attached with pulleys. And so when you pull it up, it goes from one floor to the other. Why is it important? Because in case of raid, which she is made aware of course, by some of her police or detectives, she can put in all the merchandise that they're working on. And then she has a trap door where the people that are in the back room can go down to the basement and go through a tunnel to the other house next door, which she happens to own. So she has her office all set up. She's very efficient about what she does, and they appreciate both what she does and that she's, as they say, honest in her dealings. Well, by the way, that a picture of or of the plan is in the book. It's done in pencil, and there are several other pictures, also the chimney, and there are pictures, photos of not only her but some of the other men that she's been involved with. Well, I've told you she went from pickpockets up to burglary. She's doing extremely well. She's a millionairess. But in 1875, things happen. Wolf dies. That's all we know about him. And she's left as a widow. A widow with 4 children, ages 8 to 17. She's somebody who is accepted and a member of the synagogue. The synagogue, by the way, is Road of Sholem. For those of you who know that, the Road of Sholem that is now on 81st Street and off of Central Park. Same one. It's a reform. But maybe she needs more income now that he's gone. She continues with what she's doing. But life in Manhattan is changing. They're not happy with Tammany Hall. In fact, they're very much upset with them. They want them out. These are the bourgeoisie who have now become reformers. They want the police out. They feel they're only interested in the quality of life and not in the quality of property. They want a different attorney general. And they're working on all of these things. Does it help her? Is it good for her? Well, that's book 3. And I think it would be wise if I stop here and those of you who haven't read the book finish and find out what happens to her. She dies, by the way, at 1894. So there are about 20 years to work on. Very interesting and very exciting. Now let me just come to the end of what we're talking about. There are notes on the end of every chapter that explain things and give you new ideas. It gets complicated. It might be good just to read the chapter and later look at the notes. And the other thing I wanted to share with you, now remember, this is fact, no fiction. And where was she getting all this facts from? From the newspapers, the New York Times, the archives, New York Times, the Herald, the Sun, the Boston Globe, also the Chicago and St. Louis papers. She has, you can gather she's quite an important figure in all cases. And then there is Sophie Lyons, who was her protege and worked with her inside her business. And there was George White, who wrote his memoirs. Remember, he's the chief burglar, and he was the one who smoked cigars. And finally, it was Howe and Himmel, her lawyers, who wrote a book called Dangers. Now, Dangers was interesting because it was meant for parents whose children were coming to New York to live, to warn them about the crimes and how to avoid them. But it really isn't. It's a how-to book. It actually gives you step by step for each crime, chapter by chapter. So Fox had good sources to work from. And I had a new person who I really enjoyed, and I will include her as one of my criminals. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yay, Anne.
And
Terrific.
that was terrific. And wait, it must be so documented. I did not read the book, but now I
Ah.
will. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any particular questions that you'd like to ask Anne? All I can say is that anytime I'm together with Anne, she's an expert in everything.
Now I'm a good burglar.
Right?
And so the point is to have Anne as a friend. It's not so bad. I mean, the fact is, look at what one gets as a result of that relationship. So we will have, as we have probably every other month or so, a book talk. And on behalf of the Jewish Historical Society, I want to thank you all for coming.
Can
And-
I ask Anne a question?
Sure, go ahead, Sharon.
Anne, whatever happened to her children?
Well, one goes to work for her. It's interesting, Sharon, the child that she comes over with from Germany must have died before 1860 because she wasn't on the census. She had 2 girls and 2 boys. Annie, Gustav, Julius, and I don't remember the fourth child. Not good things happened to them. Only to Gustav.
Wow.
Did they take over her business?
Julius does to a point. He's involved with her. That I will tell you. He is involved all the way through her life. And he does try to start a business like that. Not good.
Well,
By the
Nancy?
way, there were 2 plays that were written about her.
Wow. Nancy, you had a question?
I think I missed what Anne, what you said about her husband. Where was he all this time?
I asked the same question. The only thing that's in the book is that she married him and he came to America and that he died.
Oh, I guess I didn't. That's what I thought I heard.
You had it right.
Enough time to make children, though.
No,
Yeah.
he managed. She had all of her children in the 60s.
Right. I was going to give everybody a heads up on the book. I started reading it, and it was one of my first time that I was reading a nonfiction. And every single page has footnotes. And if you look at the book, it's got 300 and something pages, but only 200 of the pages of this book is the story. Everything else is reference. So as Anne had suggested, read the chapter without touching the footnotes so that it reads smoothly, and then go back and read the footnotes to see what they were. Because some of the footnotes was a whole nother story.
Right.
And it's very curious. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
I had a question. Was there any connection with Jewish organized crime, or was this before that?
This is way before that. This is in the 1850s. The organized crime that I know about was in the 1920s. And I forgot to mention that mafia comes in later. It comes in the, I would say 1890s.
Okay.
So she's the first of the crime syndicate bosses. She was known as the Queen of Thieves.
Wow. You wonder with all the detail, and clearly is in the book and that you've been able to share with us. It's
There
incredible
is,
how much got documented in terms of being able to tell the story.
there's a lot of history in it. And I'm a Manhattanite, so I was particularly interested in it.
Wow. So it's amazing that obviously being 6 foot, she really was a big businesswoman. Oh, sorry about that. So, any other questions, anybody? Well, I certainly very much want to thank Anne for doing her usual terrific job. And she's sort of like a mainstay for the book group. She's done some great work, and she's done some terrific things for many people, and including her input to the Jewish Historical Society. So, Anne, I want to thank you very much for everything that you do and what you share. And from time to time, I have a gift where I have to take her somewhere. So we wind up schmoozing in the car. So,
Thank you so much.
so
I did enjoy it, and I enjoy sharing it because she's just amazing.
So thank you all for coming, and to be continued. Thanks very much, and have a good one, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. It's Beverly. Good night.
Oh, right. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie.
Thank you all.
Thanks so
Thanks.
much. Good
Thank
night.
you, Anne. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Hetty.
I
Hi.
think Hetty left.
Yeah, there she is.
Oh, there she is. Oh, I thought you left. I looked around for your box and I didn't see you, but I'm glad to see you, that you're getting our mail. No, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Sharon, did you
Yes,
it's Nancy. Did you do brain fitness originally?
yes, I did.
I
Oh,
s-
yes, Nancy.
Yeah.
Hi.
I still do it.
You do.
Yeah.
Now
There
that
you go.
I'm unmuted, I'll say hello to all my friends from Stanford.
Yay,
Hetty.
Hetty.
So glad you're here with us.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
time did this start tonight?
7.
Oh,
7. Yeah.
I thought it was 7:30 and I came in late, but that's okay. Anne and I discuss her books all the time.
Hey, where do you live?
In Maryland,
Ah,
North Bethesda, Maryland now. Yes, but
Okay.
Stanford for 46 years.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
for
Sharon, I'm in Arizona.
Oh, you're in Arizona. Oh,
Yeah, I
wow.
live in Arizona.
Oh, that's what. Oh, so you do it on Zoom?
Right. That's the only way she does it now, but she does it on Monday and Wednesday.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
You should
Yeah.
come on sometime. It's fun.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It hurt
So-
my brain.
Yeah. Well, it's good seeing you.
So for
Good
those of
seeing
you,
you too, Nancy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anna,
Annie, you're always terrific.
Thank you. I enjoy doing it.
That's great.
And you look fabulous.
She does, doesn't
Yeah.
she? She's a,
Well,
I love
one-
your setting. You looked great in that room. You weren't in your sailboat.
Yeah.
yeah, the last room that we were on, we had whether it was an ex-com meeting or a board meeting or whatever, Anne had her background being on her boat. So we're all
Oh.
with her. So that was really
And the
great.
one in the background is a sheet from The Advocate, where they interviewed me as the first woman commander of the Stanford Power Squadron.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
When was that?
1989,
Oh.
a few years ago.
Wow.
A few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hetty, how is Maury?
He's doing very well, thank you.
Oh, good. Oh, thank
Yeah,
God.
we're almost a year with the new kidney.
Oh, terrific.
February will be a year. Yeah,
That's terrific.
and he's back to his usual self.
Great.
Looking
Oh,
great.
good.
Good to hear. Sharon, I'm glad you asked because I was going to ask. Hetty,
Yeah.
give him
Oh,
a
wait a
chance.
minute. Wait, here he is. Here he is. Here he is.
Hey, Maury.
Hi, Sharon.
Yeah,
You
me.
don't look like Anne at all.
So
Now,
good to
oh,
see
Gail
you.
Trell. Gail Trell is here too?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
I recognize you, Gail.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Glad to see you well.
We're lucky. We're a lucky
Yeah.
couple.
Good.
Yeah,
Well,
that's great.
uh,
My cousin donated a kidney to somebody. And did you meet the person that donated the
No.
kidney? No? Oh,
No.
well, my cousin did. And now they became best friends. You know,
Oh,
there's
wow.
there's an organization of people that donated kidneys. You know that and
Live
then
donations.
yeah, yeah.
This
Well,
was
not
this
dead.
was not.
Oh, this was oh. So then you definitely would not have met him or her.
No, they don't tell you anything other than the health of the kidney.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, and you don't know if it was a him or a her.
No.
Well, if it was a her, you'd probably be talking with a higher voice.
Could be. Could be, but I do have 2 DNAs.
Oh God, that's interesting.
Right, yeah.
Very interesting.
How's Fred, Sharon?
Okay.
Good. Please say
Okay.
hello.
I will. All right, I'm going to say au revoir and shalom and everything else. I got to get going.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you, Annie, from the bottom of my heart.
Ah, you're
And you were
welcome.
just great. You get an A.
Yeah.
Looks
An A.
terrific.
A plus.
And what's the next
I was
book?
gonna say what happened to the plus.
What's the next
You got
book?
it.
And you working on a next book?
I don't know.
Another
I
one?
haven't found one yet, but I will. I don't know what
Okay.
it's gonna be yet.
well, we hope, well, to be continued.
Right.
Okay.
Did you get to go to the Shake Shack yet?
No, I haven't taken her yet.
Oh,
We still have a date. It's a tentative date. Absolutely will. We're trying to find the right time. We wanted them to get settled in. We wanted them to know their routine. So I think that, you know, we don't have to go in with the whole mob.
oh, they're all over the place up
I
here.
know.
We have them everywhere we turn.
And not bad.
No, I know. There's something there for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well,
All right.
happy holiday season to everyone.
Everybody.
Right.
It was great seeing
Absolutely.
everybody. Thanks, Peter.
And nice to
Thanks.
meet you, Hetty, and your husband.
Oh, yes. So nice to meet you as well.
So,
Be well.
What we do is all in constant contact, which I think you probably got because you were registered for the book talk.
Yes.
But what's going on in our organization is pretty much in constant contact, so you can sort of keep up with what we're doing.
Wonderful.
So,
Did you get to see Remembering the Family Store, the documentary?
Remembering.
The Family Store. It's a documentary that was made from the archives of the Jewish Historical Society.
No, I did not. How do we do that?
It's when we get it on Jewish Broadcasting Service, JBS.
Mhm.
We tell you how to get onto their stations, and you can watch it there. And
Oh,
they just had it during Thanksgiving, so they usually pick a holiday. So who knows if they're going to show it sometime during the New Year? And then
Yeah.
the secret is you can record it, and then you'll have it on. It's a
oh, nice.
It's a 75-minute story of the family stores in downtown Stamford between 1940 and 1965, and you will know some of the people that are in the film.
Oh,
And you
interesting.
will have shopped at some of the places that are in the film.
Interesting.
So
Well,
I
you
hope
know-
you get to see it.
Yes. And you know, Ina Garten in her new and recent memoir talks about growing up in
In
Stanford.
Stanford.
So
Yep.
there's a nice little bit of nostalgia there from her about that.
Yep.
well,
I didn't
Great.
know that.
Yes.
I-
Graduate of Stanford
Her
High
father
School.
was a dentist.
Yes.
Yes.
And she said her playmate, Jimmy, was a lot of fun. She was referring to James Lapine.
oh,
Yeah.
excellent.
She says, oh, I used to play with my friend Jimmy. And she said that was James Lapine.
That's something.
Interesting.
I have a cousin who lives in Ypsilanti, and who saw the movie. And by the way, Gail did a great job in taking Lester Sherlock's slides and making that phenomenal story, and so phenomenal that when I spoke to my cousin in Ypsilanti, Michigan, he said, "You know what? That happened here," and it's amazing how it really touches what went on throughout the United States as urbanization took place.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the story before the mall came in.
Well, and we moved to Stanford just before that. We moved in 1975.
Yeah. So
And there was still a Bedford Street to shop on. And of course, I shopped in every store.
They missed you.
They
I'm-
did.
More
I'm
than
going to
once.
gonna have dinner. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, good
And
night,
thanks
everyone.
again. Bye-bye.
This
And
was
thank you-
wonderful.
Thanks again, Anne. Thank you. It was terrific. Just great. Thank you very much.
Let me go. So forth.
Nice, very nice.